He said, okay, listen. When someone puts out something into the world, something new, your responsibility to that person is to look them in the eye and say, I loved it. Not, other people may have problems with it, but I loved it. Not, I loved it in spite of. Just, I loved it. If you can't do that, don't see them afterwards. Hopefully you don't even tell them you were there. But what you owe them in that moment is that full support of I loved it. Maybe someday you will be able to share some other thoughts about it. But there are people whose job it is to say what they really thought. And by the time you have seen it, you are too fucking late. I accepted what he said. Things moved on. I actually then took his job for parade so that, things are going great. Judy was determined that Stephen, my relationship, not sort of founder on this particular thing. So every year, Judy and Hal had a Christmas party, and it was a big thing where everybody from the New York theater would come to this Christmas party. There's Mandy Patinkin, and there's, Patty Lupone. I mean, I remember one year where Barbara Cook sat down next to me and asked me to play In Buddy's Eyes. It was like, and the sheet music they gave me was in the wrong key, and I had to transpose it on site in front of Steve. That was really fun. But so, at these parties, there was always what Judy called the Steve-a-thon, which was Judy's favorite music in the world was Steve's music, and so whoever the pianist was would go through basically the whole score of Company and the whole score of Merrily and a bunch of Little Night Music, and then Sunday in the Park with George and all that, and Steve would generally sort of stay there for a couple of minutes until he got embarrassed and left. But Judy said, Jason, you're going to play the Steve-a-thon. And that meant that every year, for 10, maybe 15 years, I sat at the piano at the Christmas party and I played for an hour and a half, nothing but Steve, and Judy made Steve sit there and take it. I was shitting my pants the whole time, as you can imagine. His music is not easy, and it's not exactly how I play, but I practiced. All right, so gradually there was a thaw, He knew I was very sincere, he appreciated it. I was young, I was stupid. He probably would have done the exact same thing when he was my age. God bless him, he actually admitted that at one point. Okay. In 2015, I got asked I told you it's a long story. Eventually it's going to be done, but meanwhile, if you transcribe it, it's a book. In 2015, I got asked to give an award to Steve at a theater company in Philadelphia. Steve was going to come down, and would I be the final thing? They had an orchestra, they had a bunch of singers, everyone was going to do new songs, they had projections, it was great. I said, great, I drove in from Philadelphia, while the show was getting ready to start, there was a restaurant next to the theater, and they put me and Steve there with Rob McClure, who was also going to be one of the presenters, and we were all there to sort of keep Steve entertained and also keep him from getting too drunk while they waited. So then there was a monsoon. There was like an unbelievable thunderstorm. You cannot imagine.